Is Forbidden Door going to be any good? Okay, short answer, yes. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be the first AEW pay-per-view I buy to watch live. I usually just catch up on the pay-per-views via podcasts, but I'm hyped for this one. And look, I know the card isn't this amazing, wonderful, magical card that everyone was expecting with all of the top stars, all of them there, but it's still going to be a very good card. And I think the wrestling in itself is going to be immaculate. So I'm just going to run through the matches and kind of give you my opinion and tell you why I think they're going to be good matches and why it's going to be fun. And I think the show overall is going to be fun. Let me know your thoughts of the show and how you think it's going to be in the comments down below. So we start off with the buy-in pre-show, which is going to be Max Caster and the Gun Club as boys versus Team New Japan Dojo. So Yuya Uemaru, Alex Coughlin, and the DKC and Kevin Knight. Okay, I don't really know a lot of the guys from the New Japan Dojo. I'm not really up to date on Strong. I don't really follow Strong. But it's Max Caster and the Arse Boys. They're going to win. And I think that's going to be the first match for AEW, and also it's on the buy-in, it's on the pre-show, so it's kind of, you're expecting it to be there to sell it to AEW fans who are a bit hesitant to buy the show or people who just want to see. I think it's going to be a great match. Listen, Billy Gunn at his age is still a fantastic wrestler. All the clips and stuff and all the, like, because I watch the highlights of AEW Dynamite, all the stuff I see with the Acclaimed, no, not the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Gun Club, all of them amazing. I love their work together, so I think that's going to be fun. Then we move on to the actual show, and this is all the shows as listed on Wrestling Headline, so I don't think this is necessarily going to be the order of the card, but I wouldn't be surprised if it might be. So then we go on to Zack Sabre Jr. versus TBA. This was honestly meant to be a match that everyone was so hyped for. Best technical wrestler in the world. Who's it going to be? Zack Sabre Jr. or Bryan Danielson? You know, two amazing wrestlers. This was the wrestling fans match. The ones that love that technical wrestling. Obviously, Bryan Danielson is injured. He has said it's not like life-threatening or anything, which is amazing. Obviously, I'm always very hesitant watching him wrestling because of his head. But apparently he is fine, and down the line, maybe at the next one of these shows, if it's Forbidden Door or if they have another pay-per-view, I'm thinking 2 pay-per-views a year might be good for these two companies. If they have another one down the line, sure, hopefully Danielson will be back and that can be an absolutely stellar match, maybe for some gold if one of them has it. That would be amazing. So I don't know who the TBA is going to be. There's a lot of names going around. Some are saying Gargano, but Gargano's like, it's not going to be me. Some are thinking it's formerly known as Cesaro. Some are thinking Joshua Gresham will be coming back. I think whoever it is will be losing to Zack Sabre Jr. And I know this person is going to become part of Blackpool Combat Club. I think it's going to be someone who they would bring in who wouldn't be a massive name for Blackpool Combat Club. It would be kind of like, because obviously you've got Wheeler Yuta like as the rookie, then you've got obviously Mox and Danielson, so maybe someone in the middle, someone who's basically a mid-carder for them. I'm thinking Timothy Thatcher. He's a fantastic wrestler, was huge in the UK scene, probably knows Regal very well, so, you know, I mean, they were obviously together at his stint in NXT, so I think Timothy Thatcher might be a good person to come in, and also he kind of just fits it. He's a gruff, ragged old, like, not old man, but a gruff, ragged dude, kind of fits the vibe of Blackpool Combat Club. Let me know what you think. Who do you think it's going to be? Then we move on to, I love the idea of this match, Chris Jericho, Suzuki, and Sammy Guevara. I love Minoru Suzuki. I mean, if you have followed me on here, if you look at my shorts, I should post a short of me watching Suzuki live. I've seen Suzuki live like 4 times. I think he's the one wrestler I've seen wrestle the most live, and I love that. Maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's amazing. And Sammy Guevara. Teaming up versus Eddie Kingston, Shooter, who I've also seen live. Shooter was really good. Unfortunately, the match I was watching him in, he wasn't in it for too much because it was a Rev Pro and Shooter was really overpowered in Rev Pro, so they kind of had to write him and I forgot his tag team partner's name in Rev Pro. They had to write them out of the match because also for storyline reasons, which is a shame because I wanted to see more of Shooter. When he was in the match, he was dominating because that's the way he's booked in Rev Pro. So Eddie Kingston, Shooter, and Wheeler Yuta. Love Wheeler Yuta as well. I think Shooter's going to get pinned, maybe by Suzuki. I think that makes sense because obviously the two also wrestle a lot in the UK, so that would also make sense. And also they have history, I believe. I believe Shooter was attacked by Suzuki. No, that was Jericho attacked Shooter and the Red Shoes, because I'm pretty sure Shooter's Red Shoes' son. Unless I'm getting that confused, but I think so. But regardless, he attacks him at one of Jericho's matches in New Japan, so that's a long-term storytelling. So I think Shooter will either get pinned by Jericho or Suzuki, and then Going in Raw have said that, well, at least Larson from Going in Raw thinks that Suzuki will attack Jericho after the match, which frankly I agree with. Eddie Kingston's going to pick up his big win over Mox of Blood and Guts, which I think is on Wednesday, the coming Wednesday, obviously. And I agree. I think Jericho or Suzuki will pin Shooter, and then Suzuki will probably attack Jericho and Guevara after the match, which will be amazing. We move on to Bullet Club, which, God, okay, this is a pretty big match. Hikuleo, LP, and the AEW World Tag Team Champions now, the Young Bucks versus, I can't believe they're calling them this, Dudes with Attitude. I mean, Darby Allin, Sting, and LIJ members Shingo Takagi. Oh, Shingo going from IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And Hiromu Takahashi, who, again, Takahashi's amazing. I would love to see Takahashi versus Darby Allin. I think I'd mentioned that before. I think I'd said I wanted to see Takahashi versus Darby Allin. That would have been such a great match. But Dudes with Attitudes? What? Just call them Darby Allin, Sting, and LIJ. Who knows? Maybe that was Sting's idea. Sting was like, guys, what if we're the Dudes with Attitude? And like Shingo was probably, I think Shingo was like confused that he was teaming with Sting on Twitter. And Hiromu was just chill. And Darby's like, yeah, Sting, you're right. I don't know who's going to win this. Like, it's not the most overpowered people from Bullet Club. I mean, LP is pretty overpowered. I think the person in this match that's eating a pin is Hikuleo. And I think if you want a massive pop, it's going to be Hikuleo takes everyone's finishers, and then Sting hits him with a Scorpion Death Drop and gets the win. I think that will pop both US and Japanese audiences. So if I'm Nostradamus, I'm going to clip this and I'm going to be like, today, the date is the 24th of June. I'm saying that Sting beats Hikuleo with a Scorpion Death Drop. Then we go for the IWGP United States Heavyweight title match. That's a very long title name. Just call it the IWGP United States title. Then I'll add heavyweight in there as well. I thought it'd be open weight. Orange Cassidy versus Will Osprey. Obviously, I mean, if you know, I think there was some political stuff. It was supposed to be Andrade versus Will Osprey, but because some political stuff to do with CMLL and AAA. I think AAA were like, yeah, you're not wrestling Will Osprey because I think New Japan have an agreement with CMLL, so that's a shame because that would have been a fantastic match. Orange Cassidy's fun and all, but Will Ospreay is going to walk all over him in this. He'll win. I'm sure they'll give Orange Cassidy his, no, obviously he's not going to get hot tag, but his Hellcat moment. But Will Ospreay will win this match, and what will, I guess, be a very physical match. Physical in the sense that there'll be a lot of flips. A very, I don't want to say flippy, because flippy is like derogatory. Flippy sounds bad when I doesn't think it sounds bad myself, but I digress. Will Ospreay will win. Then the women's title match, which I am a bit let down that they didn't get Stardom involved in this, because obviously Bushiroad also owns Stardom. So they own Stardom, they own New Japan, I think they own a couple other smaller promotions, I think. But you should have gotten a Stardom wrestler in this. I mean, I know Stardom obviously has their own stories, and I mean, the logistics of getting a third company involved, especially in this first show, and trying to, you know, weave that into storyline as well. Maybe that was the issue they had there. I know Stardom is doing some really great work now. I really wish I could watch Stardom, like, but it's another subscription service for me to get, and hard times, baby. Hard times. I can't afford another subscription service. But Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. I love Toni, but Thunder Rosa is going to hold on to this because you had such a stable champion before with Britt. Thunder Rosa is going to have to build up until you get someone in. Frankly, I think it should be Jade Cargill, who comes in and takes the title of Thunder Rosa and holds both titles. Either unifies them, or she's like, I don't need the TBS title, but also it's that bitch show title, so she kind of, you know, it's her title. But I think Jade will be the one to eventually take it off Thunder Rosa, injuries aside on everyone's case. But although I know, and I guess Toni is well known by a Japanese audience as well, so okay, maybe thinking about it a little bit more, okay, Toni will be known by a Japanese audience, especially like the Stardom audience. So yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, I still would have liked to see an actual like current Stardom wrestler there. Up next is a winners take all triple threat tag match for the Ring of Honor Championships with FTR, the IWGP Tag Team Champions, the United Empire's Jeff Cobb and Great Khan versus Roppongi Vice. Roppongi Knights. Okay, so the first thing I would be thinking is, if I were AEW, I would be thinking, okay, maybe I would have FTR win, because FTR are basically telling the story where they're going to collect all the belts. But then they are working with, I think they are the the AAA champions, and also the AAA and CMLL issue obviously is like, oh, okay, what are we going to do here? Because will CMLL be comfortable with AEW AAA champions wrestling in New Japan? It's a bit convoluted there, if you're kind of following what I'm saying. I think from a storytelling perspective, yeah, FTR makes the most sense because they are the most overpowered there. I mean, Jeff Cobb and Great Khan are great. I love Great Khan. He's such a lad. If you follow his Instagram and Twitter, he's just a lad. But I think FTR makes the most sense. However, if politics comes into play and throws everything out of whack, I would not put it past them putting all the belts on Roppongi Vice. Because obviously Roppongi Vice is known in Japan, so the Japanese audience will be like, okay, cool, the faces win the title, we're happy. And then AEW, okay, they know Trent Beretta. I don't know, obviously, the full extent how the US crowds feel about him, but, you know, they seem to like him, and everyone likes Rocky Romero. So I wouldn't put it past them putting it on Roppongi Vice. But it's a toss-up. I'd say it's 75% going to be FTR, 25% because of politics, Roppongi Vice. I mean, listen, Jeff Cobb is a beast, so someone will get pinned who isn't Jeff Cobb. That will be the result. And then we have the Fatal 4-Way for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And this is a match a lot of people take umbrage with. I don't understand, because yes, obviously this pay-per-view is a big deal, and people were like, it should have been booked so far in advance, but this pay-per-view's been riddled with injuries. We're going to get into one in the following match after we talk about this one. But this pay-per-view's been covered in injuries and also just external factors. So this IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match could possibly have been between, you know... And also, you got to protect people. That's the issue as well. You got to protect them to ensure, you know, each company looks strong. It's difficult when you're doing these interpromotional championship matches and interpromotional events. But, okay, obviously it's the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, you know, best wrestler in the world for basically the last 10 years, in my opinion. Adam Cole, Bebe. Adam Page, Cowboy Bebe. and knife pervert Jay White. So, okay, I think Jay White's going to retain because he's just picked up the belt, I think like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and Okada's not going to pick it back up because he's going away because he's having a child, and to be honest, after being the best wrestler in the world for the better part of 10 years, he deserves as much of a break he wants to spend with his new child. Okay, that man can take all the time off in the world he wants. Adam Cole, he's still booked strong at AEW, but he's not, he's failed to beat Adam Page on multiple occasions, and then Adam Page, obviously, his story now is, I lost my AEW title, and now he's desperate for gold, and his desperation, I think, will be the downfall of him further. He has to sink further and then build himself back up to winning the AEW title off of heel champion at the time, which will be amazing. It'll be great. I mean, it might be Punk, but obviously with injuries, and I thought it might be MJF, but who knows how I'm an MJF, so it's difficult to tell with that. But yeah, Jay White's going to retain. I think he's just going to pin Adam Cole. But whoever gets pinned is going to take multiple finishes. It's going to be, I don't know, Adam Cole takes a buckshot lariat, gets hit with a Rainmaker, then Okada gets chucked out, and Knife Pervert hits him with a Blade Runner and wins. I think that's the kind of deal we'll be having for whoever wins. They'll be hit with basically everyone's finisher. Then we move on to the Fatal 4-Way match, another Fatal 4-Way, for the inaugural AEW All-Atlantic title with Miro, Pac, Bastard Pac, Malachi Black, love him, and Clark Connors, who was replacing an injured Tomohiro Ishii. Like, again, just another injury plagues this event. It's so, like you've gotten two of AEW's biggest stars out, and then Ishii, who is just a well-known, just a king amongst men, out. To be honest, I think this makes it slightly easier for New Japan to stomach this, because I don't know. I think Ishii probably would have eaten the loss, but I think Malachi Black and Pac are still kind of like have a feud going on at some point. So it kind of would have devolved into a Miro versus Ishii match, which makes sense for Ishii to be losing to Miro, because Miro is, he's trying to fight God with his belt. Miro's going to win this, I think, and a lot of people are speculating as well. This belt was basically made for Miro, and, that his shtick is, I need a belt so I can fight God, or something, which is amazing. Maybe he can join Vince with being, undefeated against God. And I think just having Clark Connors in there as well, it's just going to be slightly easier for them to justify Miro going over, probably pinning Clark Connors, because I think Ishii probably would have taken the pin in the actual 4-way. But I might be wrong, but I'm putting my money on Miro, but not actually putting my money, because, hard times, baby. And finally, the main event, the interim AEW World Title match, Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. I was actually not unhappy with this match, but when it was Tanahashi versus CM Punk, that's fine, cut and dry. Punk would find a way to squeak a win out against Tanahashi, and maybe they'll do that with Mox as well, squeaking a win against Tanahashi. I know Tanahashi's career is now on its, I don't want to say final legs, but I would not be surprised if in the not too distant future his career is going to become like Kojima's, where he is still like this overpowered king, but because he's getting older, he's not going to always be in the main event scene. And I still think it's difficult to book Tanahashi to lose a match, especially a world title match. But it doesn't make sense logistically for Tanahashi to be the interim champion, which is a shame, because Tanahashi is amazing, but also Mox is really great, and Mox is well known and loved by the AEW, community, fan base, so I think Mox will win that match. But again, I didn't like seeing Tanahashi be booked to lose. That's why I was thinking, okay, a small percentage Goto will beat Tanahashi, maybe from interference by someone, like Knife Pervert also always hates Tanahashi. So That's how I would have, then gotten Goto to face Mox, but then also Goto versus Mox isn't as big of a match as Mox versus Tanahashi, and it's nothing against Goto. I love Goto. He is Mr. Never Openweight Champion. But it is, yeah, it's fairly obvious it's gonna be Mox. I think it would have been fairly obvious that it was gonna be CM Punk, and I think had Punk not gotten injured, this storyline would have maybe been a little bit more interesting, because I'm sure AEW had to scramble to be like, okay, we need to get Mox into Blood and Guts, but also now he needs to be champion. What's happening? I think that's, a bit of an issue there that they had to face. And I think with Punk still being around and him being a little bit, he was healing it up a little bit. A heel Punk versus Tanahashi would have been amazing. Again, with Punk still going over and he's still being upset that Tanahashi's losing a match. But that's what I'm thinking. I think there's a very small percentage Tanahashi would win, but I just think logistically it's too difficult and doesn't make sense. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, what you think of all of my predictions for AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door this Sunday, January 26th. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the event, and I hope you watch some great wrestling and subscribe, please.